Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. That's not my intro. Hello everyone, today's video is going to be some year 11 advice or some GCSE advice that I wish I knew before I went into year 11 or before I did my GCSEs, because there's a lot of stuff that I feel like I wish I knew before I started the whole process of like revision and just school in general. I wish there was some stuff that I knew before life just went Before we do get started with the video, I just want to say if you enjoy it, you can subscribe or give this video a thumbs up, and yeah, let's get on with the video. So I did write down a list of all of the things on my phone, on my notes, and I've come up with around like 8 or 9 points of things that I wish I knew, which will hopefully help you out if you are in year 10 going into year 11, so yeah. My first bit of information is listening class. Obviously that's a very easy bit of information for me to just say, like, oh, listening class, like that's pretty obvious, but I feel like when you're actually in the moment and when you're in your lessons, sometimes you can like fall out of like listening and you literally just like talk to your friends. At least that's what I did. But obviously listening in class is helpful because the teacher could be going over something and you might not be listening, and then 6 months down the line you're in your exam like, when did they talk about that? You know what I mean? When you're in year 11, it's really important to not do that, sadly. Next up is a piece of information which I kind of knew before it all happened, but mocks matter. Literally, so helpful. If you don't do mocks, but I think literally every school does mocks. I had mine in January of this year, right when I got back from my Christmas break. I had my exams, my mocks. They lasted 10 days. They were from January the 14th to the 24th. I literally remember the dates because I was so stressed out. But mocks are such an important part of the whole GCSE experience for, you know, preparing yourself for the GCSEs, because they are literally the exact They are the... I do not know what I'm trying to say. Basically, if you're in year 10 going into year 11 now, you are going to be doing the mocks, most likely that I did in my exams, if that makes sense. I'm not sure. Try in your mocks, really revise for your mocks, because they are such an important part of GCSEs, because they are exact papers that people have done for their GCSEs in the past. So try. I gave myself 10 days to revise, and then I would revise around like 4 hours when it was weekdays, and then I did about 6 hours on weekends, which I know is a lot of revision, but I had so much to go through in 10 days because I had like every single subject. I had an exam. Should have given myself more time, but I didn't. I would say if you want to be prepared, I would give yourself about 3 weeks to a month of revision, and then maybe do about 3 hours, 2 hours a night. Just know your limits, you know, just try on your mocks. Next up is organisation, and how important organisation is to succeed in year 11 and GCSEs, because it is it's not a stressful year, but it's a stressful year. Any coursework based subjects, you need to be on top of your game, okay? For me personally, art was one of the biggest problems throughout year 11, because I was being set coursework all the time, and if you get behind on your coursework, that's just being depressed throughout the whole of year 11, so don't do that. I was, thank God, quite good with my coursework and being organised. I usually was before every deadline, but I at least hit every deadline. Like, I was never behind, thank God, but I do know people that got behind, and trust me when I say that the later the year goes on and the closer you get to GCSEs, the more stressful it is to be doing art. Like, I was doing art in like April, so like it wasn't too close to GCSEs, but I know people that were doing it in like the final weeks and were getting stressed because they were still revising. Just make sure that you are organised, whether that be with coursework, homework, life in general. Just make sure that you are organised in life, because year 11 can turn a bit weird if you don't stay organised. I was pretty good, so I didn't have any mental breakdowns. Well, I had one, but it wasn't that bad, but organised, you stay on top of your game, that you're constantly putting in effort for your coursework and stuff like that, because everything matters in the end with your GCSEs, so yeah. Advice is revise early, but not too early. You may be like, what? I'll explain. Revision for me is not fun. I don't really enjoy revision. There are some people, I wish I was you, that enjoy revision. Cannot relate. But you need to make sure that you know your limits with revision and how much you can put yourself through before you get like mentally unhappy, because I know my limits. I know when I want to stop revision, and so I kind of pre-planned how much I was going to revise for how long and stuff like that before I even started revision. I personally started around the beginning of April, but I started properly in like mid-April. I would now give myself a bit more time because there's a lot to do in that time and you want to make sure that you're as prepared as possible. But giving myself a month was pretty good for me, but it might not be good for you. I would do around, I'd say around 3 hours on weekdays when I had school, and then I would do about 5 to 6 hours on weekends. This wouldn't be like straight 6 hours, like I'm not one of those that can just sit there and like revise. My brain just goes, no, like leave, you know? So if you want me to do a how I revise video, even for like specific subjects like history or science or whatever, let me know because I would. But for me, I can't revise in large chunks, so I would do like hour to an hour and a half blocks and have like a break. So yeah, I would say start at the end of February to the beginning of March, because that gives you about 2 and a bit months of revision before the GCSE process even starts. But whilst you've got your GCSEs going on, that's like a month. Like there's a month period between my first GCSE and my last GCSE. You can revise quite a lot of stuff in that time, although I wouldn't recommend leaving any subjects to revise, you know, like whilst GCSEs are happening, because that gets very stressful. I totally didn't do that. So my next piece of advice is to stay on track throughout the year. This is similar to when I said about coursework and constantly being on top of coursework, because it can get very stressful. It does apply to certain subjects like science, maths, English. If you get behind on like concepts and stuff like that, and if you just aren't getting what you're learning, do not leave it until the end and think that you can learn it because like you've got your textbook. No, go to your teachers, ask them about help, like see if you can get like a revision session going with like one-on-one, or if you want to do a group session, like ask your teachers for help, because they're a teacher. They are there to help you succeed in your subjects. So why would you not get the help? I struggled with chemistry very badly, like, yeah. So me and my friend, we went to our chemistry teacher and we were like, please can we do some revision sessions? And so I say we started those in around the March, February time. So every week on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, whenever we went, we would meet our chemistry teacher, go through all of the concepts that we found difficult and all of the stuff that we found hard. And obviously we weren't like amazing chemists by the end, but we weren't any worse for doing these revision sessions. That's what I'm gonna say. Like, doing extra revision with teachers and stuff isn't gonna make anything worse. It's only gonna help you. So why would you not do it? Next up is to prepare for every exam. This is probably a bit of information that you are like, duh. I did not follow this tip. For example, history. I personally had 3 history papers. I do Edexcel history. So I had medicine, Richard and John and American West, and Nazi Germany. I had my medicine paper first, then obviously my paper 2, then my paper 3, because chronological order. For my paper 1, I was prepared. I had all of those facts down. I was like, you know what? I'm about to finesse this. I'm gonna come out feeling confident. I come out of that exam like, oh, that was it. Like, I've smashed it. Then I realised that I also had a paper 2 and a paper 3 that I hadn't even started revising. I then had 2 whole papers to revise whilst I was still doing GCSEs. It was just a stressful time. Like, I did not enjoy that. I was revising for my history exams, like doing last minute things the day of the exam. All I'm gonna say is if you've got like 3 papers for one subject, or like science, you've got 2 papers for each, chemistry, physics and biology, be prepared for both. Like, don't just revise one, revise it all. Next up is you come first. This is quite an obvious bit of advice that people say, like everyone's like, oh, look after your like mental well-being. But I feel like a lot of us forget. You can't always be sat doing revision every night for hours and hours on end and be amazing mentally. Like, that's just not how our body works. For me personally, I do know my limits, and I know that when I need to stop, I will stop. But there are people that, you know, they don't stop because they're like, oh, I'm so stressed, like I'm not gonna get this done, I feel like I'm gonna flop. Like, you need to know that when your body, like when you feel like you aren't revising anymore, because I know when I was revising there would be times where I'd just be sat there thinking like, this isn't going in anymore, this isn't gonna help me now, I might as well stop. If you've got that feeling, just stop and have a break, like have the day off. I know it sounds bad, but let me explain. I had so many like half days off because I was just feeling like dead. I was just feeling like I don't want to revise, I don't want to be in this like bedroom, I just want to be like chill, watching Netflix, going out with people. Like I knew when I should stop, and a lot of the times I would stop and just take the whole day off, which, although that does sound bad, you come first. Your well-being, making sure that you are mentally stable, because at the end of the day, seeing some numbers on a paper isn't gonna make up for feeling like shite like 2 months ago. In terms of my GCSE experience, my experience was pretty good. I only had one time where I cried, but that was over history, and that was because I was stressed out that I did not revise for the paper 2 and paper 3. So if you're getting anything from this video, just revise for all your papers. So just plan ahead, plan your timetable, make sure that you are prepared for every exam, make sure that you look after yourself and don't go over the edge in terms of the amount of revision you do, because that's not going to help you out, and make sure that you enjoy it. Because I sure enjoyed that long old month of exams. So on a real note, like I feel like everybody, me included, before GCSEs, everyone's like, oh my god, this is gonna be so stressful. But when you're in the exams, it's literally like doing the mocks. Like it feels exactly the same as mocks. There is nothing different, apart from having to remember your candidate number. I forgot that so many times. If you put in the work, you're gonna do fine. And even if you do put in all the work and you don't get the grade that you wanted, you've tried. You've tried hard. So why be annoyed at your grade if you know that you tried? That is all I have for this video on new year 11s and people doing their GCSEs this year. If you are in my year, or if you have done your GCSEs a few years ago and you've got any pieces of advice that you want to give to the new year 11s, let me know down below in the comments, because I'm sure people would love to know your own pieces of advice. Yeah. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please give it I just spat everywhere. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe down below if you want. I post videos every Saturday and I would love to have you be a part of the channel. My next video is going to be my GCSE results. We getting bad grades. Look forward to that. Hopefully it'll be coming out on the Thursday, the 22nd. It may be the Friday, the 23rd, depending on if I do bad. I may have a midlife crisis and not want to upload it, but I hope that you have a really good day and a really good week, and I hope that I see you all in my next video. Bye!